As writers, one of the things that is most important to us is to be able to increase the interest, audience interest in our story. And how do we do that? We do that by increasing the drama. That's what we're going to talk about today.
You have a story to tell, but you don't know where to start. Let me show you how to free your story. I teach you how to write and how to dig deep in your soul to release your story and make a difference in the world.
Welcome to the Julia Amante channel. If we're just meeting, I am Julia Amante, and today we're going to be talking about increasing the interest in our story by using drama. Now, drama, what do I mean by that? Because you don't want your story to be overly dramatic, right? We just finished watching the World Cup soccer, and one of the things that I always find hilarious is the overly dramatic falls to the ground, right? That the soccer players, if you've ever watched soccer, they, I'm sure they're hurt at some point, but it's always this overly dramatic fall. And then all of a sudden, once they tell them, no, you're not getting whatever penalties or whatever they're looking for, then they stand up and they're just perfectly okay. And it always gets this eye roll, right, from the audience where they're like, okay, that was overly dramatic. I didn't believe that you were really hurt. And as writers, that's what we don't want, right? We don't want our audience rolling their eyes and saying, oh, come on, that's, she's overreacting, or we just don't want to have the audience, the readers, to feel that way, that we are overwriting something, that we're just increasing the drama just to pull at the audience's heartstrings. What we want to do is we want to increase the drama and make it feel real, make it feel authentic. And so how do we do that? Let's talk first about the difference between drama and melodrama, which is the over-exaggerated drama, right? So the drama is well-placed emotions that we elicit from the readers. So the emotion comes from real events, from things that are actually, that make sense, that are logical, that you build on as a writer. So you build on the events, the things that happen that lead to dramatic events, and it's logically placed there. So the reader doesn't feel like, where did this come from? Why in the world is she crying? What's going on, right? That they're with you there. They're with the character. So if the character is feeling fear or excitement or whatever it is they're feeling, it's because of all the scenes and how you developed all the prior scenes leading to that major dramatic scene that makes the audience and the reader, the audience and the character actually experience the same feeling. Now, let's talk about melodrama. Okay, so in melodrama, what's happening is the characters are basically overacting, right? They are exaggerating the feelings, or exaggerating what they're doing and what they're saying. There's something maybe that happens that is sad, and the character overreacts to that thing. And so what the reader feels is kind of manipulated, like it wasn't that bad, okay? And maybe it was that bad, but it's that you didn't develop all the prior scenes to lead to that big scene. So if it feels melodramatic, what you need to do is look at the scenes that came before. What did you write before? How did you prepare the reader for this big event that's going to happen? And if they're not prepared, then it will feel melodramatic. It will feel like the character is overacting, and the reader will not believe you and do that eye roll, like, oh, come on, stop that, right? It wasn't that bad, or it wasn't that scary, whatever it is whatever emotion it is that you're trying to elicit from the reader. So look at the scenes that came before and see, what is it that you missed? Where did you not prepare the reader for this big event that you are writing about and that the character is experiencing? All right, so there are three things then that you need to do to write these dramatic scenes. So the first thing is to be able to hook your reader into that whatever's happening. So the dramatic scenes come from writing good scenes, right? And the good scenes from good writing. So we work our way back where you're creating hooks along the way that the reader is interested in, right? So if you want the reader to be scared at a certain scene, a certain point in your book, then you need to have hooks in there for that genre where the reader is feeling scared along the way. As you're building these scenes, you're building in the tension, you're building in the fear, so that when that final event happens where they're supposed to be really scared, then they're going to feel that they're going to be with you. It's not going to feel like an overreaction because you had those little hooks in there along the way. Okay. The second thing is, in those scenes, you want to have really good development. So let's say that a character's family member dies, a sister dies. You want to be able to develop that relationship in prior scenes. So you want to take the time to make the reader care about that sister. We want to get to know the sister. We want to get to know that relationship, so that when the final event happens and that person dies, then and the character is obviously upset, crying, whatever they're doing, whatever that dramatic moment is, you have the reader there with you because you have developed those scenes. You've added you've developed the scenes prior to that, so that they've gotten to know the person, they've gotten the feelings. Okay, so again, going back to scenes before that and really developing those scenes, developing the relationships, developing the fear, whatever it is that you want the reader to feel, you have to do that before. Okay, and the third thing is to have little clues in those prior scenes. So what do I mean by clues? Clues like, how is the character feeling? So not only are you developing the scenes, not only do you have little hooks in there, but then you also have the character's thoughts, right? The internal thoughts, little clues on what might happen. So for example, if the character's sister is sick, right? That maybe the character's sister is sick, and that's why she's going to end up dying at the end, or in the middle, or wherever in the book. Those scenes prior, there should be fear. The main character should have thoughts about maybe something that happened prior to that. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking at the top of my head though, but let's say that maybe the sister fell off of, I don't know, stairs or something. And at that point, years before, she was afraid that something might happen to her. Now that's kind of like a premonition kind of thing. And it doesn't have to be like that, but there could be little things where there's little clues of what might end up happening. You don't want to make it obvious. So especially if your story it isn't leading to an actual eventual death, let's say, and you're saying, well, there might be hope, and you want to keep that hope in there, then you don't want to make it obvious, but you want to have little clues that something isn't going right. The medical report isn't coming back well, whatever, right? So have little clues. Don't make it just this huge surprise that comes out of nowhere, and all of a sudden you want the reader to feel this huge emotion that you haven't prepared the reader for. So all of this is preparation, right? So all of what I'm saying, having the hooks, having the development of scenes, having these little clues in there, is preparation for that dramatic event, so that you're not surprising the reader and the reader isn't with you emotionally. If you have the proper preparation, the reader will be there and it won't feel melodramatic. It'll actually feel dramatic. It'll feel like a major event, and it'll feel like a good story, like you did a good job, because you developed it well, you prepared the reader well for this event. Okay, so for these dramatic scenes, one of the things that you also want to do is you just want to increase that drama, you want to increase that tension. The more you do that within your scenes, the more dramatic it's going to feel. So you're increasing the fear, you're increasing the tension, you're increasing whatever that big feeling you want the reader to have within your story. So adding little twist, adding angst, adding fear, adding any kind of tension beforehand will help to make that scene more dramatic, more intense when you finally get to it. And you also want to make it as personal as possible. So when you're increasing tension, for example, let's say that the character, if the character is involved in an accident, right, and it's just a random accident, then it's bad. The readers might be worried, or they might feel fear or tension or whatever, right? Whatever it is they're feeling because this character is involved in an accident. But if it's just kind of random and there's random people involved, there isn't that personal feeling, but let's say that the character is involved in an accident and there is a passenger that is a family member, a child, somebody that means something to that character. Well, then that dramatic moment is going to increase. That tension is going to increase because they're worried. The character is worried about somebody else, and the reader is also going to feel that tension within the character. Okay, the same, because they understand that, because you would feel that too, right? I would feel that way if it was a family member, a child, or somebody, and I was in an accident. If it's just me, yeah, I'm hurt or whatever. But if it's somebody that I love and care about in my car, and I react, I cry, I'm worried, I scream, whatever, right? The character's going to understand that because they would feel that too. So make it more personal and increase the tension. Anytime that you can make the scene more dramatic, more tense, right? More feeling, that's going to increase the drama. And so what I'm saying here is that you want to raise the stakes. And I believe I have a video on raising the stakes. And if I do, I will post a link. I think I definitely wrote a blog about it, so I will post that. And I think I also created a video. But that's what I'm saying here is raising the stakes, right? Making it more personal, deeper, more emotional, so that the reader will feel that emotion and will feel that drama. The drama will feel natural. It'll feel like it's justified, however the character is feeling, because it is deeper and it is more personal. It is more tense. Right? Because you created it that way. So lastly, I want to share some techniques that you can use to make these scenes more dramatic. First, use your character, right? So this is the person that everybody's following. This is the person that the reader wants to know about and wants to connect with. So use that character. How does that character act? How do they talk? What do they say? What does their voice sound like? Does the voice tremble? What is the way they normally speak? And then how do they react when they are in this tense moment? So use that character, because that again, the reader is following this character. They're looking at how this character is acting, the facial expressions that they have, the body language. Okay, all of that helps the reader, and these are clues too, right? So if you're using the character's body language throughout, the reader's going to be picking up on these clues that you're dropping, that things are getting worse, that the character is more worried. Right? So use your character first. That's one of the techniques, is just follow the character. Okay, the next technique is to use language, right? So we're writers, we want to use the language in order to show us. So and grammar and sentence structure and all of that. So if things are getting tenser, the sentences should be getting shorter. If you can use the tone that you're using in the sentence. If the character is depressed, if the character is fearful, maybe you're focusing on words that focus on darkness or anything tense, right? Maybe on words that elicit emptiness or fear, anything, use the language to create that feeling that you want the reader to have. You can also use the rhythm of the language. You can use repetitive language. So sometimes repeating things either exactly or in different ways, so that you are again eliciting that feeling that you want the reader to have. So use language, use grammar to build the tension, to build the emotions that you want the reader to have. So ultimately, what we want to do is we don't want to exaggerate. We don't want to pull drama out of nowhere. We want to remember that with good writing, we're always building to these moments. There may be one dramatic moment. There were maybe multiple dramatic moments that increase as the novel progresses, right? So you have to know where your plot points are, where are the dramatic moments going to happen, and how are you building and creating this tension, that this drama that you want that's going to happen, right? That the character is going to experience and that the reader is going to experience. So ultimately, if you include these techniques, if you include good writing and you don't just pull the event out of nowhere, then it's going to feel real. It's going to feel dramatic. It's going to feel authentic. And the reader isn't going to think like, oh, wow, this is an overly dramatic moment and I don't really understand why this character is acting this way. And it'll be the opposite. It'll be like, wow, what good writing, what what good acting this character has displayed. So that I'm going to leave you with that. Just make sure that you are looking back and look at your dramatic moments, and then look back at the scenes before that and see, how did you prepare the reader for this moment? How did you create scenes prior to this to make it seem, dramatic and good and real? Okay. Hopefully this has helped you. If it has, please hit the like and share button and come back next Friday for my next writing tip. I'll see you then.